إن الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن والاه وبعد. My dear brothers and sisters, Alhamdulillah, in Ramadan we give Zakat. Although Zakat is not restricted to Ramadan, but generally we give Zakat in Ramadan because of the extra rewards that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us in Ramadan for all good actions. So in this connection, I've been asked many questions about Zakat, and I thought let me try to speak about the principles of Zakat. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to enable me to say these things in a clear way, which will help us to understand what we should do and how to do it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Surah At-Tawbah, ayah number 103, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, خُذْ مِنْ أَمْوَالِهِمْ صَدَقَةً تُطَهِّرُهُمْ وَتُزَكِّيهِمْ بِهَا وَصَلِّ عَلَيْهِمْ إِنَّ صَلَاتَكَ سَكَنٌ لَهُمْ وَاللَّهُ سَمِيعٌ عَلِيمٌ. Which means Allah said, take sadaqah, take it from them. Not ask, take it from them. From their wealth, take sadaqah, which refers to zakat, from their wealth, in order to purify them and sanctify them with it. Purify them and their wealth, and to sanctify them with this taking of sadaqah, which means zakat in this case, and make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for them. Verily, your du'as are a source of security for them. Sakanul lahum, they will give them sukoon and sakina, source of security and contentment for them. And this is the dua of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is all hearer and all knower. So therefore, the issue of zakat itself, the issue of paying zakat, this is fard from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made this fard, it's a pillar of Islam. Now, Islam is perhaps the only religion where charity has been made incumbent, and charity has been made fard, has been made compulsory as an ibadah, as a form of worship. Charity in Islam is a form of worship, and this is the first thing to understand about zakat, that zakat is worship. It is the ibadah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the same surah, in ayah number 60, in Surah Tawbah, إِنَّمَا الصَّدَقَاتُ لِلْفُقَرَاءِ وَالْمَسَاكِينِ وَالْعَامِلِينَ عَلَيْهَا وَالْمُعَلَّفَةِ قُلُوبُهُمْ وَفِي الرِّقَابِ وَالْغَارِمِينَ وَفِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ وَابْنِ السَّبِيلِ فَرِيضَةً مِّنَ اللَّهِ وَاللَّهُ عَلِيمٌ حَكِيمٌ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this ayah enumerated the different categories of people who are eligible for this sadaqah to be given to. So in the first ayat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, take this sadaqah from their wealth in order to purify them and to purify their wealth. And in this ayat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, is telling Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and is telling us what we should do with this sadaqah, which is taken out of the wealth. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, verily, as sadaqat again means zakat, are only for the fuqara. Fuqara, a faqir, is a person who is poor and who asks for assistance, who asks for help. So fuqara are the poor who ask. Wal masakin, and those who are poor but don't ask. People are people with their self-respect and so on, and these are people who don't ask. They need it. They may come from good families and good background, and they have fallen on hard times. So it's not that they don't need the money. It's not that they have a lot of money. They don't have it. They are in need, but they have in so much self-respect and so much waqar and izzah that they don't ask. So as sadaqat are only for the fuqara, poor who ask, and al-masakin, the poor who don't ask, and those employed to collect the funds. So when the state sends out people or an organization collects funds, collects zakat, then the collectors of zakat, the people who are sent out to collect the funds, they are permitted, it is permissible to pay them from the amount that is collected. And then Allah said, and also to attract the hearts of those who have been inclined towards Islam, which is non-Muslims who are inclined towards Islam. So helping them through zakat money is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has permitted, and because it helps them to they feel closer to Islam on that because of that, and perhaps they will also accept Islam. And then Allah said to free captives, which is people who like giving bail to some people and so on, or slaves, to free slaves. Zakat can be used for that, and for those in debt. So for people who are in debt, zakat can be given to them to free them from that captivity of debt. And for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's cause, zakat can be used for anything which is a struggle in the path of Allah. And for the wayfarer, for the traveler who is cut off from everything. A person may have wealth on his own, but in that particular country or wherever he is, this person has no has no means and no resources, and so therefore that traveler is eligible for zakat. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Faridatam min Allah. Allah said, this is a farida. This is a fard, it's a duty imposed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is all knower, all wise. Now, to give the zakat, who is a person who must give zakat? When do you become liable to give zakat? The nisab, or the criterion for that, is calculated in terms of silver, which is 52 tolas of silver. One tola is 10 grams. So this comes to 52 and a half, which is about 634 grams of 634 grams, which is a little over half a kilogram of silver, or gold, which is 7.5 or say 8 tolas, which is 87.48. So say 88 grams of gold. Now, I'm giving these figures in Indian rupees because we are in India, but calculate it for yourself wherever you are in the world. The silver price today is 40 rupees per gram, and gold price is 2,840 rupees per gram. So if you have wealth, if you have savings with you, which are more than this price, which is 2840 multiplied, 88 multiplied by 2840, then you are eligible to pay zakat. So you can work out this on your own. There are, of course, also some nice apps for zakat calculation. So I leave that to you to do in terms of whether you are eligible or liable, rather, if you are liable to pay zakat. And if you are liable to pay zakat, then to pay zakat is obligatory, it is fard. And please understand, this is a pillar of Islam, which means that when a person becomes eligible to pay zakat, if that person does not pay zakat, then that person is, depending on what form that not paying is, because if the person refuses to pay zakat, then the person is out of Islam. But if the person is not refused to pay it, but he is reluctant to pay it, or he has not paid it and so forth, he is still in any case somebody who has committed a major sin, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to save us from that. So this is the issue of zakat. So anyone who is liable to pay zakat must pay zakat. Now, in terms of zakat, there are three fundamental principles that must be kept in mind. The first principle is that zakat is to be paid in the same form of wealth on which it is due. Zakat is to be paid in the same form of wealth on which it is due. So what is what do we mean? What do we mean by that? What we mean by this is that if zakat is being taken out on cash, then that zakat must be paid in cash. You can't take out zakat on cash and pay it in kind. Cash zakat must be paid in cash. So cash zakat is what most of us pay because that's what we are liable for. Now cash zakat refers to Actual cash, which means your savings at the end of 12 months, whatever they are. Let me take a step back. The way to calculate zakat and pay zakat is very simple, which is that take any one day of the year. Most of us pay zakat in Ramadan. So say take today is the 5th of Ramadan. Take the 5th of Ramadan. Every year on the 5th of Ramadan, see what you have, which is your bank balance, which is the value of shares that you may have, which is if you are in business, then it's the value of your goods in trade. If you have gold and silver, there is zakat payable on gold and on silver. If you have jewelry and so on and so forth, so it's the value of that jewelry. Add up all of this, and your zakat liability is 2.5% of the value of all these things. So add up all this money and then say 2.5% of that total amount is what you must pay in zakat. So every 5th of Ramadan, you are going to do that, which is calculate what is there on the 5th of Ramadan and you pay. And as I said, 5th of Ramadan is only an example I gave you. There is no sanctity on about the 5th of Ramadan. Whichever day you choose for the paying of zakat, does not have to be in Ramadan even. This zakat becomes liable on that day, and you need to pay that. You can pay this zakat in installments also. You can pay it all at once. But remember, until you have paid the last cent, that is due on you. And if you die without paying that, then you are answerable to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for why you did not pay the zakat. So zakat is a very serious matter. So the first principle in zakat is that zakat is payable in the same form of wealth as the wealth on which it is due. Now, 2 or 3 kinds of wealth, as I said. One is cash, which is all of these things which I mentioned before. Zakat is also due on animals. So those people who are breeders of animals and who have cattle and sheep and so on, there is a zakat payable on that. I won't go into all the details of that. All of these are available. You can check them up. Most of us are not cattle breeders, so it really doesn't apply to us. But if those who are cattle and sheep breeders and farmers, they need to find out what zakat is payable for them. Grazing animals is a different zakat. Animals which are stall fed is a different zakat, and so on. So for them, however, the point I'm making here is zakat on animals has to be paid in animals. Zakat similarly on crops. Farmers who are farming crops, zakat is to be paid in that crop, in the anaj, in the grain. So zakat to be paid in the same form of wealth as that which it is liable on. So number 1. Number 2 principle is, I mentioned to you the ayat of the Quran, zakat is to be paid only to those people who are eligible to receive it. Now, eligibility is 2 forms. One is the criteria of people which I mentioned, and secondly is eligibility in form of being poor enough to receive zakat, and for that the ulama have taken the nisab of silver, which is somebody who has less than half a kilogram of silver as a saving. This person is eligible for zakat. So basically people have to be poor enough to receive zakat. So that is a very critical point. If zakat is paid to somebody who is actually not eligible to receive zakat, then that zakat is not considered as paid. So that liability remains on the individual, and that person is answerable to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even though he may have given the money. The reason I'm saying this is because if, for example, if you give the money to somebody and say, please pay this is zakat money, and please give it to people who are eligible, and if that person is not careful, if that person is not knowledgeable, and that person just goes and distributes it to people as charity, this zakat is not considered as paid. The liability is still on you. The person who distributed the zakat did not misappropriate the funds. The person did not eat up your money. That person gave it, but he did not give it to people who are eligible to receive zakat, and therefore that liability still remains on you. Therefore, when you give the money, when you give zakat money to any individual or any organization, the responsibility to ensure that the zakat money is given only to people who are eligible to receive zakat, that responsibility is still your responsibility. So please understand this. You can't just hand the money and forget about it. Your zakat may still not be paid because the people you gave it to did not know what to do with it. So it's up to you to make sure that that is not happening. So second issue of zakat, first is in the same form as the wealth on which it is due. Second one is zakat must be given only to people who are eligible to receive it. Third criterion of zakat is the person to whom the zakat is given must become complete unqualified owner of that amount. So if I am giving the zakat to Zaid, then Zaid becomes the complete owner of that money. I have nothing to say about that to Zaid. I cannot keep any conditions on it. There cannot be any strings attached. I cannot compel Zaid to spend his money on anything that I wish. It is entirely the discretion of Zaid what he wants to do with that money. For example, therefore, if I give the money to a poor boy and I say to him, here is money, and I don't have to say specifically this is zakat money. It's also not even nice to do that. But I know it is zakat money, so I'm giving this to Zaid, who is a young boy. He is eligible to receive zakat. So up to that point, I'm fine. I am giving the money and I'm giving it to somebody who is eligible to receive it. And then I say to him, now take this money and give it as fees in this school and you study there. So now what have I done? I have put a condition on Zaid to say this money, you can't do anything you want with it. You can't spend it anywhere you like. You must take this money and you must do with this as I am telling you to do. Now I may say to myself that, the biggest need this Zaid has is of education. This kid needs schooling very badly. He needs schooling more than he needs anything else. So therefore, after all, I have his best interest in mind. I am giving him good advice. So therefore, I don't want him to take this money and squander it. I don't want him to take this money and go and buy a PlayStation or something. So I want to make sure that this boy goes and spends his money in a good place, which is to pay fees as a school. So I make this a compulsion on him and say, here is his money, go and pay the school fees. Now, Zaid may get a good education, that may be good for him, but my zakat still stands due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is still not paid because I put a condition on Zaid what he wants to do or what he should do with that money. So it is important to understand this, that when you're giving zakat to somebody, you have no control over that money. You have no right to say anything to that person. You can by all means give advice if you like, but you have no right to attach any string to that money to say that you must do this or that with the money. Now, keeping this in mind, the questions that I was asked is, we have in our culture the custom of giving zakat in the form of clothes and in the form of food grains. And a lot of us give these what we call the Ramzan iftar packs and so on. So it's 1 month's food grain which is distributed to people. Now, does this qualify for zakat? I have attached the fatwa here of Sheikh Muhammad Salih al-Munajjid, Hafizahullah. Please, those who want to read the fatwa in detail, please go ahead and read it. I have also given us a brief note about the fatwa, which will come with the same recording. So read that as well. Short answer, no, you cannot do that. You cannot give zakat which is due on cash in the form of clothes or food grains. What you have done till now, inshallah, there is no sin on you, but in future, don't do that. And the reason why there is no sin on you is because there is a difference of opinion among ulama on this matter, but by far the strongest opinion, the majority of the ulama are of the opinion that zakat on a particular kind of wealth must be paid only in that form of wealth and not in the form of kind or in the form of goods. So if you are taking out money on your taking out zakat on your cash, pay that in cash. Now, please understand this. Especially in Hyderabad, I know this is true, maybe true in other places also. Go to the market in Ramadan, especially because people take out zakat in Ramadan. Go to the market, to the clothes or cloth shops, and they will bring out things for you. They will say, these are zakat saris and these are zakat clothing. And if you look at that clothing, those zakat saris are so substandard, they are so horrible. I mean, you wouldn't wrap a dog in it. It's so bad. But they are giving these as zakat clothes, and people are buying that. This is a multi-million-dollar business. People are buying this and they're giving it to the poor people. See, this is where, when you don't follow the ahkam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala correctly, even good turns into bad. So what is happening as a result of this now? First of all, you are spawning a very bad kind of business. There is a market, huge market for substandard cloth, which is good to nobody. Number one. Number two, the purpose of zakat, one of the purposes of zakat is for money to go into the hands of poor people. But now what's happening? Your money is going to a businessman, a middleman who's making a huge profit out of this, giving substandard cloth. You would not dream of buying that kind of cloth for yourself, but you buy that kind of cloth for poor people and you give it. So it's evil after evil, all because you don't want to follow the ahkam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So do not buy clothing, do not buy, similarly for the same thing for the grain. Now, for example, you give people grain, and I've said this so many times. People don't eat only in Ramadan. You are giving one Ramadan hamper and you feel very good about it. What about the other 11 months? So when you look at this thing in totality, people do not need that substandard cloth you are giving them. People do not need the food grains you are giving them. They have food. They are not starving people. You are not talking about disaster relief. You are talking about normal people who are living a life. They have food. What they need is cash. That cash they will use for different kinds of needs that they may have, which you don't know about. Give them cash. By all means, you have to give them cash, give them cash. Don't waste your time and your energy buying food, packing food, buying grain, packing grain, cloth, whatnot, going around distributing it. There's no need. It may make you feel good, but it does not fulfill the purpose of zakat, and therefore your zakat remains unpaid. So please don't do that. Give cash for cash. Right? Don't give cloth for cash, or don't give food grains for cash. Similarly, same issue applies also the other two conditions, which is zakat must be given only to those who are eligible. So make sure that you are giving zakat to people who are eligible. And if you are giving zakat to organizations, make sure that the organizations are giving zakat only to people who are eligible. And in that context, remember, if you are giving money to an organization which is doing some kind of relief work, please understand, if you give zakat money to them, your zakat will remain unpaid, because that relief work which they are doing is specific to that relief work. The money that is being given to those people is being given to those people without them having, and that's the third point, the person receiving zakat must have the freedom to decide what they want to do with it. In these cases, this may not be happening. So make sure that that is happening, that people have the freedom to do with the money as they wish. So similarly, for example, if you give zakat to a madrasa or a school or something and say, this is for poor children, please understand that does not apply, because unless the madrasa calls the child, hands over the money and says, this is your money. If you wish to pay the school fees with it, it is fine. Otherwise, this is your money in any case. If that is actually happening, and this used to happen in the earlier days in Darul Uloom Deoband, for example, when the madrasa was small, this is what used to happen. Money would be given to the child and say, oh, this is yours, do whatever you like with it, and if you want to pay the school fees, welcome to pay it. I don't know today what happens in different places, but the point is that even for good things, for example, education and so on and so forth, by all means support madaris, by all means support relief organizations who are doing all kinds of good work. But please understand, if you are doing it with zakat money, it has to follow the principles of zakat which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala laid down. So very, very clearly, also let us understand that Islam does not compel us to restrict our charity only to 2.5% of our wealth annually. The Sahaba, in their case, used to actually do the opposite. They would keep 2.5% and they would spend 98%. So let us try to emulate that. Charity in Islam is not restricted to zakat. Zakat is the absolute minimum. That is the boundary condition. If you are not doing that, you are not even in Islam. But beyond this, we must be charitable, we must give more. So therefore, let us give more and let us support all Islamic institutions. Alhamdulillah, let us support all welfare institutions. There are a lot of people doing some excellent work. By all means, support them. But if you are giving zakat money, please understand it is a very specific thing which is bound by rules, and if you do not fulfill those rules, your zakat will remain unpaid even though you have spent the money. I hope I have made this clear. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make it clear for you, inshallah. And please read the attachments that also have been sent with this recording. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to put khair in this and to enable us to understand this and to understand His will and to carry out His will at all times. Wa sallallahu ala nabiyil kareem wa ala alihi wa ashabi ajmain bi rahmatika ya arhamar rahimin.